On behalf of our more than 26,000 members around the world, I want to welcome you to this National Philanthropy Day celebration. This past year and a half has been very, very difficult. It's been full of challenges. We have all been dealing with uncertainty and doubt throughout the entire time. But through it all, we haven't stopped helping each other. National Philanthropy Day is the day that we recognize and celebrate that spirit and the extraordinary impact that we all create through giving and volunteerism. And that's why fundraising is the impact profession, because we bring people together to create the impact that changes the world.
It's an honor to be part of something bigger than us, to be something bigger than the cause that we support, just to say that all together we are changing the world. Philanthropy is not just something good to do. I think it should be part of our DNAs.
When I think about all that we've gone through as neighbors, as a country, as a world, and the response for philanthropy, I am just so grateful.
The idea that we have so much difference in between the haves and the have-nots is disturbing, which makes the significant need for philanthropy. Absolutely.
All together, we're working for one thing, is making our societies better, making our world better.
Your success, your liberation is bound with the success and liberation of your neighbors.
We can amplify those missions. So please donate and experience that joy for yourself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Association of Fundraising Professionals, Hampton Roads Chapter's annual National Philanthropy Day celebration. I am Kate Wilson, the president of our Hampton Roads chapter. We are here today to recognize and celebrate philanthropy and those who have made a difference in our community. We are delighted to have so many community leaders, colleagues, donors, volunteers, and friends here as we celebrate philanthropists and fundraisers in Hampton Roads. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate our 2021 honorees. We are particularly grateful that you joined us virtually and look forward to seeing you in person very soon. Each November, the Association of Fundraising Professionals chapters across the globe host National Philanthropy Day events to celebrate giving and the impact it makes in our communities. Today, on this special day, created to recognize acts of giving and kindness, both large and small, we celebrate each of you. Whether you have given your time, talent, treasure, or testimony, every person attending has contributed to making our community a better place. We are pleased to honor our 2021 National Philanthropy Day honorees and all of you today. Thank you. The Association of Fundraising Professionals represents over 31,000 members in more than 240 chapters throughout the world, working to advance philanthropy through education, training, mentoring, research, credentialing, and advocacy. AFP fosters the development and growth of fundraising professionals and promotes the highest ethical standards in the fundraising profession. The Hampton Roads chapter is recognized by AFP as a 10-star chapter, one of the leading chapters in the world, and a Friends of Diversity champion. Our chapter works very hard to increase diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility within fundraising, and increase public awareness of the importance of philanthropy in all cultures. We strive to be the premier fundraising resource for professionals to learn, collaborate, grow together, and inspire a more vibrant Hampton Roads community. AFP Hampton Roads is the largest chapter in Virginia and offers monthly educational programs, workshops, mentoring, and networking opportunities for development professionals, executives, board members, and volunteers. I would like to give special thanks to our chapter's past presidents for their outstanding leadership, which has led to the success of this AFP chapter. And finally, I would like to recognize our National Philanthropy Day Committee for their tireless work on this event. At the helm of this committee is Chair Amy Weinstein, who it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. As chair of the National Philanthropy Day Committee, I would like to take a moment to recognize our sponsors, without whom this event would not be possible. These organizations represent the rich philanthropic community that we are so fortunate to have in this region. They are diverse in causes and size, but they are all united, particularly on this day, in their missions of bettering the citizens, environment, and community of Hampton Roads.
Thank you to our benefactor sponsors, the Beasley Foundation and Hampton University. Thank you to our VIP reception sponsor, Eastern Virginia Medical School. Thank you to our award sponsor, Town Bank. Thank you to our event sponsors, Beth Shalom Village, Birdsong Peanuts, Langley for Families Foundation, Norfolk Academy, Norfolk Collegiate, Norfolk State University Foundation, Ohef Sholom Temple, and Tidewater Community College. Thank you to our contributing sponsors, Academy for Nonprofit Excellence, An Achievable Dream, Barry Robinson Center Next Step to Success Program, Chesapeake Regional Health Foundation, Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters, Chrysler Museum of Art, Edmark, Eggleston, Elizabeth River Project, Karen and Matt Fine, Hampton Roads Community Foundation, Lefko Leadership Fund, Nansemond and Suffolk Academy, Old Dominion University, PB Mayors, Portsmouth Partnership, Ronald McDonald House Charities, Runnymede Corporation, St. Jude, Taylor Construction, Tidewater Jewish Foundation, United Jewish Federation of Tidewater, United Way of Southampton Roads, Virginia Beach SPCA, Virginia Fundraising Consultants, and Virginia Wesleyan University.
Finally, I would like to give special recognition to our presenting sponsor, the Curtis Group, and thank them for their generous and continued support of this philanthropic community. It is my pleasure to introduce their Executive Vice President, Wendy McGrady, to say a few words in honor of this special day.
Thank you, Amy. Greetings, everyone. I'm Wendy McGrady, Executive Vice President of the Curtis Group. We are honored to have sponsored this National Philanthropy Day event for over a decade and are pleased to again sponsor this important celebration of philanthropy and generosity in Hampton Roads. Did you know that the nonprofit sector represents 5.6% of our GDP and the nation's third largest workforce? Did you know that last year Americans supported nonprofits by giving $471 billion, the largest amount ever, and that more than half of American households make a charitable gift each year? Our team of fundraising consultants is passionate about the important role of nonprofits and the absolutely critical role of those who support their work. Daily, we get to see incredible gestures of generosity from donors in this community to nonprofits we all know and love. It's this spirit of generosity that we celebrate today, both here in Hampton Roads and across the world. This is our chance to appreciate and recognize the impact of donors, nonprofits, and volunteers. Today, we'll honor several extraordinary individuals and organizations, and they deserve that recognition. But let's also pause to celebrate countless others making a difference in our community by giving money, by volunteering, and this year, perhaps in new ways, supporting local businesses or restaurant workers and others impacted by the pandemic. Ways of expressing generosity that may not be as visible. There are so many ways to be philanthropic. I hope this event inspires you, inspires us all to find our place, find our way to take part in giving. Thanks for the role that you play.
My husband was very generous to many entities over the years, some in greater amounts, some in lesser. But one that I think really touched him deeply was that he received personal thank you notes from several students at Brandeis, and he had founded a scholarship there some years, I think it was in the early 90s, to honor and in memory of a family member. So the scholarship would support a student And the students would not often, maybe 3 times over the time that I knew Larry, which was about 30 years, did he receive a personal thank you note. But that was as meaningful to him as if he had been written up in the New York Times. I do believe that I will see those stories, hear those stories as EVMS, the Institute, the Lawrence J. Goldberg Institute, actually becomes a real thing next spring. And it is interesting that I have had people who are Parkinson's patients or families of Parkinson's patients already come up to me, even sometimes on the street, and say how excited they are, how thrilled they are, how relieved they are that there will be some place locally that they can go. So that has been a heartwarming response. Truthfully, I would have to say that my and Larry's philosophy is pretty much paralleled, to make things that we see as being needed in a community, to make them more available and available to more. First of all, I think you have to love what you support. And I think it has to be something that has made a difference in your life or perhaps in the lives of friends or family, something that's meaningful, made a difference, and that you just love, whether it's medicine or education or the opera, the symphony, the stage company. I think if you love something, you will, one, give more to it, and you will become much more enthusiastic about your giving, such that you can garner the support of people whose interest you are looking for. I think it may be a cliche, but the more you give, the more you get. And I don't mean that in terms of amount of money. I mean the more support, whether it's financial or volunteer work or whatever, you're going to get rewarded for doing that, because you're going to see things that you think are important made more available and accessible.
So I was raised in a family where philanthropy was always such an important part of what my parents did and their parents, and so my dad has particularly been hugely influential in not just starting nonprofits and being a leader and being a fundraiser, and just it's part of the culture of our family.
You know, I remember my mom always volunteering and in different forms and fashions, and it's something that just I feel like it's sort of innately in me, I think, but also I think the way we were raised is it's important to give back. You know, we're very fortunate and not everyone is. You know, that's something that we've really tried to impress upon our kids too, is that we have a responsibility to give back.
We always have done philanthropy, or oftentimes together, and in the last decade or so, a lot of the things we've done have been together. And you know, we like working together, and it's good for our relationship. And I think again, for role modeling for our kids, it's important for them to see that we can be aligned on issues and want to give together.
People do, I think, want to give. I think they need to be shown the way a little bit and learn that, you know, it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, people don't maybe understand, is there is no gift that's too small. There is many ways of doing it, and sometimes it's just your time too, and it doesn't have to be a financial thing, but kind of dipping your toe in and trying different things and finding what you get back is way more than you end up giving. I mean, it's something you can't experience until you do it. I wanted to quote my friend Amy. Her philosophy to me is what sort of guides me too, is, you know, we're not asking people for money. We're really asking for help and change in the world. And I believe that we can change the world.
Well, Hampton University has made quite a few impactful contributions over the last 44 years, so I'm not sure that I can say just one, but for example, we have the world's largest proton beam cancer treatment center. We are treating prostate, breast, lung, ocular, pediatric, head, neck, and brain cancers. We also have 4 satellites flying right now. We've got, thirdly, a giant antenna that can detect storms and hurricanes, tornadoes up to 2,000 miles away. We've had over 37,000 students to graduate since I've been here. So I can't just pick one because all of those are just so impactful because the things I just said, nobody else in this region has satellites and a proton center and a giant antenna. All of them are just wonderful, and it's a contribution of the team. You know, I believe very strongly in team, and the team members have done that, and I'm very, very grateful. Now, I was very much involved in all of those, except that, you know, I don't know how to launch satellites. I'm not a physician as it relates to cancer treatment and those kind of things, but as a team leader, I was involved in all of those things. I happen to be one that I enjoy work, and I enjoy being able to come to work and interact with faculty, staff, students, alumni, board members, and others. So I just enjoy that, and that happens quite a bit. Even today, I've had quite a full day, and I still got some things that I've got to do. So I don't know if I can say there's a single day that I have enjoyed any more than others. All of them are, during the 44 years I've been here, have been really terrific. I speak, write, talk about leadership quite a bit. I've actually lectured at Harvard and Yale and William and Mary and Howard, Tuskegee, Talladega, a number of places. I've written books on it. I've written articles and books about leadership. And again, the first thing that I say all the time is what I've already said. You know, look upon the team, the collective competence of the team. That's much better than the individual competence. I don't care how smart, how bright, how anything any one individual may be. So if whether or not you're fundraising or anything else, then I just think that the thing to do is to include the team in what you are doing. So that's what a leader has to do. And also a leader has to understand that there are going to be instances where they are going to be criticized and as well as applauded. And I have been both. But I treat those two imposters just the same. I always do what I think is right and best. I try to get as much input as I can. I try to deal with those collective minds that I talked about, and we move on from there.
Before we continue with recognizing our fabulous honorees, I would like to take a moment to recognize our community champions. These individuals and organizations were submitted by AFP Hampton Roads chapter members in recognition for how they have gone above and beyond in their respective missions and in fundraising for those missions. The community champions for 2021 are
Kira Spindler, Jordan Brown, Tony Brothers, Dr. Valerie Brown, Kim Forbes, Ian Holder, Linda Whitehead, John Katzius, Jackie King.
When you talk to people that you've really made a difference in their lives through the funding that we're able to provide, often for families in need through some of our recipient organizations that the Federation raises funds for, it's really about people helping people, and for institutions to be able to offer programs to their constituents that may have been looking for additional funds that we're able to help with, just really is significant and makes us all feel good about what we're doing. And through collective action, we can provide not only financial resources, but also human resources to help those in need. My favorite days of work are when I'm out talking about the Federation and our Jewish community, and making the case for giving in terms of why one would want to make a contribution to the Federation's annual campaign. Because it's not giving to the Federation, it's giving to the community. Giving to a federation, or in this case, the United Jewish Federation, there's the power in a collective gift. So through one gift, an individual is able to impact so many organizations and so many individuals. I think that one of the greatest examples of collective giving is when, with the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the United Jewish Federation of Tidewater, the Tidewater Jewish Foundation created an emergency fund for our community. And so through collective giving to that emergency fund, we were able to help Beth Shalom Village make sure that they had enough personal protective equipment to take care of residents, to help Jewish Family Service make sure that clients had food on the table, medicines, weren't choosing between electricity and putting food on the table, helped our institutions that provide Jewish education, our day schools, have the proper mitigation measures for students, and a myriad of other services within the community. But that was really the power of collective giving to this fund and the impact that it was able to have. There's two Jewish phrases. There's Gimulit Hasadim, which is acts of loving kindness, and Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. And I hope that the Federation has been able to do both of those things for our Tidewater Jewish community, so that in 10 years and 20 years, 30 years, my children, my grandchildren can find a vibrant Jewish community, all the opportunities for Jewish education, social services, cultural opportunities, as part of a vibrant Tidewater community. I hope that we can all work together within our community, that the Federation can continue to work with other faith friends, other partner organizations, so that we can have an inclusive Tidewater Jewish community, so we can all do our best to promote tolerance, to combat hate of all forms, to leave the community in that position in the future would make us all feel very good. One of our guiding values is that we take care of one another and that people take care of people. And that's really what we have in mind every day as we're raising funds in the community. But it's really one person giving to help another person. And when you really think about that, it makes it all worthwhile. It's often our neighbor that we don't really know is in need, or an impact that we didn't know we could have on the community. But it's one gift at a time, one person at a time, taking care of someone else.
What drives my ideas about fundraising? The first thing I try to think of is our why. Why are we choosing to campaign? Why are we asking people to come and help us? And that's important because I believe that when we define our why, it helps us better determine our end goals. And when I speak of end goals, I'm not speaking solely about the dollars that we're raising. I'm speaking more about an impact. And impact for me means an experience that is producing positive and fruitful and lasting results. You know, I can say, luckily for me, I have very many days that I can consider favorite days on the job. And I don't know if many people can say that, but I know I can. But the one that probably comes to mind immediately would probably be based on the one event we did in May. We had been doing mobile distributions throughout the city and across the North Carolina line for about the past year. And we did one in May, which was supposed to be our last one. And for me, I was not so much overwhelmed by the amount of recipients that were coming through. The line was full and it remained full because it was a drive-through distribution, drive-through walk-through distribution. And it wasn't, I never celebrate the fact that there are people in the line. I always celebrate the fact that we have the goods that can meet the need that for those that are coming through the line. But for me that day, I took a moment. We were in this huge parking lot, and I stopped and I scanned the parking lot, and I saw people from various denominations, many races, cultures, and ages. And they were working hand in hand, and there was this camaraderie and this fellowship that had just developed out of just them being in the same place at the same time, but more importantly, working for and on the same cause. I think one of the things that I have found with the volunteers is that there is this heart that people have for others. Now, not everybody does, but when you find that one and you tap into that passion, and you find that you have a shared passion for helping and for service, that is when I found throughout our time, throughout the year of our mobile distributions, that grew, the volunteerism grew, and it grew by word of mouth, and it grew because other people were finding out there's an opportunity for me to do something that I want to do anyway. And so philanthropy for me grew because not only were people coming out from a physical standpoint to help us with the labor and the service, but they were saying, hey, we'd like to lend to buy a pallet of food, which is what we needed anyway. We'd like to give you a donation to help with whatever, use it for the operations of what you're doing. So yes, the philanthropy grew because people found that there was something that was meaningful and something that they shared in the passion for, and that is what drew them over. First of all, I would say that if you are still functioning and operating as a nonprofit in a COVID-19 time, first I'll say congratulations to you. Pat yourself on the back, you deserve it. But I would say, of course, and I know we're all lamenting this, that COVID was immediate and unprecedented. And it forced us to change either completely how we operate, it forced us to alter how we operate, but more importantly, it forced us to reimagine how we operate in a new day and time. And not only did we have to reimagine, we had to become more creative and innovative, and we had to stretch ourselves beyond ways we even thought we'd be able to. So of course, we had to reimagine ourselves and our vision. And so my advice would be to play on that strength, that very strength that you didn't know you had, that creativity, that innovative mind that you have. Play on the strength of that, and then use that to engage your donors, use that to engage your stakeholders, and use that to help allow them, or encourage them at least, to come alongside, not just to give, but to help co-create. So now we're looking at you coming along, and we're meeting the mission of your foundation, but we're also meeting the mission of our organization, and we're creating a solution that we know is going to better support the interests of the community or directly to the people, but it will overall affect the fabric of the community. And that's what my advice to fellow fundraisers would be. And one of the things we determined is that there's a way to help, we've just got to figure it out. So previously to coming up with the idea of trying to campaign for a truck, we just made phone calls. Do you know someone with a pickup truck? Do you know someone that would be willing to allow us to use their truck? And we just put it all together, and we called people together, and we packaged boxes of food, and we took that food and we loaded up pickup trucks, and we went to the locales of those rural areas, and we just parked and said, come, if you want, just come through, we'll load you up. And we did that. We did that long before there were foundation dollars that were in support of that, until someone says, you have something going here, you should, kind of pursue this a little more. And we did, and it matured and it graduated to where we are today with an actual mobile distribution program. So I'm very excited, very grateful, I'm very thankful about where that has come, and I'm grateful about where that's going, because that's going to continue to grow.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Davis. I'm CEO of Town Bank. And it's my distinct pleasure to say a few words about tonight's honoree of the Lifetime Achievement Award in Philanthropy, Judge Richard Bray. Richard Bray has been lead director of Town Bank for many years. But more importantly, he has been a friend of mine for many years. In fact, he's been a friend to many, many people. And he shares the principles that our bank espouses, as well as the principles of an organization of which I do not know if Richard was ever a member, and that's the Boy Scouts. The 12 principles of the Boy Scouts start with trustworthy, loyal, and helpful. I've never met anyone who's more trustworthy, more loyal, but particularly more helpful to those around him. I've heard him say that if you drive down the road, you don't need to just look through the windshield. Look in the rearview mirror, look in the side view mirrors, look out the side windows, the rear windows. You'll see need all around you. And when you have that knowledge of need, that's not a lot of value unless you combine it with the passion to do something about it. And that's where Richard is unique. He has a knowledge of the need around him, and he has the passion to work to change other people's lives. He's a soul man. And in Town Bank, we say soul is not S-O-U-L, it's S-O-E-L, serving others, enriching lives. There's no better example, no finer example of that in our community. And tonight's honoree, Judge Richard Bray. Richard, congratulations, it's well deserved. We all love you.
Well, the foundation was founded in 1948 by Mr. Fred W. Beasley. And Mr. Beasley set out a pretty broad mission for us. It was religion, charity, and education. So we had a lot of running room, and we've stuck to his mission. Over the years, that mission has been more and more defined. But this foundation is Mr. Beasley's foundation. And we have preserved his traditions, his customs, his preferences, and we've learned what those various preferences would be over the years, and that has driven to a large extent the selection of the appropriate beneficiaries by the trustees. The most meaningful area of giving would be in education, and that would include pre-K all the way to graduate school. We've done it all, we do it all. We try to be selective, we try to reward, recognize merit, encourage young people both in the academic track as well as career track. The Confederate soldiers. And my mother wouldn't let me out the front door, and I remember this standing at the storm door, looking and wondering what was happening. And it was later that one day I noticed a man walking around over there, and it was Judge Anderson. And so I walked over and being the way I am, I introduced myself to him, he introduced himself to me, and that was the beginning of an extraordinary friendship. And it was a friendship. He was not only a powerful influence on me, but he was my friend. And we lived on a little creek there, and we had crab pots, and Judge and I would go fish the crab pots and cook crabs on the weekends. And through my life, it never ended. It never ended, the relationship. And that introduced me to Mr. Beasley. And when I was with them, I would ride in the back seat and listen to them talk. And I didn't say too much, but I developed a sense of what they thought was important and the depth of their commitment, the reality of their commitment. If they didn't feel like they were accomplishing something, they would simply redirect. They would fine-tune, they would refocus. And at that time, philanthropy in that particular range where they were, that particular area, was unusual. So to a large extent, it was a work in progress, but it got better and better. And it was that association with the judge that I guess developed in me a consciousness that I might not have otherwise had. When you go in the store, or when you're at the stoplight, or walking down the street, look around. And that's what happened to me. If you don't see the need, you don't sense the need. If you don't sense a need, then you don't have any interest in addressing it. And so I tell my friends, you don't have to look far to see need. In so many areas and carrying so many faces. In small ways and big ways, we can all give of ourselves and our treasure to address needs. But the only way you're going to learn about need, and I've learned so much about it in 19 years, the only way you're going to learn it is you've got to make the inquiry. You've got to educate yourself.
And now, in closing, I'd like to extend my sincere congratulations to this year's honorees and thank our many wonderful and generous sponsors for their support of both this celebration and our AFP chapter. I'm especially grateful to the event committee and the AFP Hampton Roads Board of Directors for their tireless assistance and support. On behalf of our chapter, thank you all very much for attending today and for the work that you do each and every day to make our community and our world a better place. Thank you again to our generous presenting sponsor, the Curtis Group, as well as the rest of our sponsors for your commitment in recognizing all that is outstanding in philanthropy in Hampton Roads. We hope you will leave this celebration invigorated and inspired. Please continue to change the world with a giving heart. Help those organizations closest to you accomplish their meaningful work by giving generously of your time, talent, treasure, and testimony. This approach helps us see that philanthropy is not just about money, but about our whole lives. We wish you a happy and healthy holiday season and look forward to celebrating with you next November. Have a wonderful day.